Every day I speak to incredible people who I'm able to change their lives, whether that be through career or personal. And I really want to do that on a bigger scale. I want to work with women. I want to inspire. I want to work with the youth as well in terms of tech and education. And I just want to learn skills. I'm forced to learn skills that I wouldn't ordinarily learn in a recruitment environment. So I'm just ready to take myself to that next level.
Welcome back to yet another episode of Suits and Stories. And today we are going to be interviewing someone very interesting and a little off course from the industries and professions that we have been speaking to lately, but that is exactly the essence of this podcast. We're going to be speaking to people from different roles, different industries. And today we're going to be chatting to Nicole Ramos Dodd, who is an recruiter, a very specialist recruiter, actually. And I think she's going to be sharing a lot of great things that are going to reinforce a lot of what I've said to a lot of you guys and just giving you tips around what's happening. But we're also very interested in hearing about her particular career journey, what's been happening for her, how she's found the journey within HR and recruiting in particular, but then also just gaining some nuggets from her around what some of the trends are and what to expect. So Nicole, super excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining.
This is absolutely amazing. We have been waiting for this moment.
I know, right?
We've been prepping really hard, but thank you so much for having me.
Such
I'm
a pleasure.
super excited to just share. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for today's one, guys. So Nicole, we always start with a little bit of an icebreaker with all of our guests.
Sure.
And the one that I wanted to ask you, could you maybe share a favorite movie or book that you've read that's had a significant impact on you, and why?
Wow. Sure. Now I'm trying to think. There's so many elements of me that I enjoy in different movies. The one, though, that came to mind, and I generally I'm one of those that, whatever first comes to mind is what you should actually say.
That's the one.
And I'm really a romantic at heart. And the only time I really get to watch romantic movies is with my sister.
Yes.
So my favorite romantic movie from back in the day is The Notebook.
I love.
That is...
Oh my gosh.
That is like my fairy tale love story, what you hope for.
Yes.
And like... as a young girl, that's just what you imagine and picture. And there's just so much emotion just a movie that was so well done. So I have to say The Notebook.
Yes.
More than anything else.
I love it. I love it. That's one of my favorite movies as well.
Amazing.
It must be a girl thing. Like when you connected to your emotions and romance and all of those things, like it's just... Yeah. Anyway, well, lovely. I love that, and I love there's some resonance to it. I know exactly what you're speaking about. But let's maybe delve back into your career, right?
Sure.
So I think if you could take us through a little bit of your career journey and what some of the key milestones have been for you. Like why did you decide to go into recruiting, and what did you study? And so just tell us a little bit about that journey in terms of your career to date. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'll take you all the way back, right to the start.
Yeah.
So I studied a BSc in Information Systems. And I think back then it was quite different. You know, a lot of people that I speak to are quite amazed, being a female.
Yes.
This is 10 years ago, where maybe IT or tech wasn't as prominent in high schools as subjects and that sort of thing. And my parents weren't really involved. They were just like, you figure it out, whatever you choose, we'll support you. So, decided to study the IT route and did a really short stint at like a software consulting house for about 2 months. I was doing development work and I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't sleep at night because my code would not run.
Oh my goodness.
And I was just it wasn't gelling. And I've been like... academics for me was really important growing up. Like I always used to thrive, used to do really well, was quite hard on myself. So, being able to secure the first job out of university, you think, amazing. 2 months in, it's just not gelling,
working.
Right? So we part ways. I was contacted by a company called Red Recruitment.
Yes.
as they were recruiting for IT graduates for their clients. So was interviewed by one of their consultants. She absolutely loved me. We had so much in common. She said, you know what? You need to meet my boss. You need to come back for a second interview. So I was like, okay, great. This must be a good sign, right? Like I'm meeting the next person and then go off to the client.
Right.
So I was then called back for another interview, and I was then sold the opportunity of doing IT recruitment. And I was so confused at the time.
How did you feel about that? I mean, you're going one path doing like IT and
I
coding.
was so confused. I was like, sorry, I'm not sure if we're aligned at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure you understand what I'm here for.
I'm actually interviewing for an IT role.
Yeah.
I don't know what recruitment is. And you know what? Like at the time, my boss did a really good sell. And, went back home, spoke to my parents about it. And they were like, you know what? Just go for it.
Yeah.
You never know where it can go. If you don't enjoy it, you can go back into the market, look for an IT job.
Yes.
So I said, okay, cool. And that's how I landed in recruitment as such.
Amazing.
And it's been 12 years of doing IT tech recruitment, very technical recruitment. That's sort of now merged into tech and digital, which is very exciting. And so my journey has been working independently, doing really, really well. So being a top achiever, then managing teams and building teams, to then going back to working independently, doing like strategic projects, to now managing again. And that's been 12 years at Red Eye Recruitment.
So the same company that helped you decide not to go into IT and
that
tech.
swayed me otherwise.
That swayed you outside of where you wanted to.
Correct.
You're still with them now.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. And it sounds like there's just been so much growth in the time. I mean, you said went to kind of working independently, managing teams, back to working independently.
Yes.
So it seems like it's been quite a journey for you, even though it's been just one employer, right?
One employer, absolutely. And I tell people, I know that sounds crazy, but in recruitment, every day is so different. You get different requirements, you're dealing with different people, and it really keeps you on your toes.
Very true.
Because recruitment keeps changing, so you've got to keep learning.
Very true.
And again, I think that's what's kept me there for so long.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, clearly you're not going back into tech anytime soon, right? This is it. You're not going to go back into IT, would you?
No.
But do you think having an IT background helped you in
absolutely.
being a specialist at tech recruiting?
It was everything.
Everything.
It was the cherry on top.
Yeah.
It was, if you look at other IT recruiters, there's very few that have a qualification in IT. Traditionally, everybody comes from an HR, psychology, business or marketing background, and kind of also take that recruitment path.
Right.
So I think it really is it's what gives me that advantage at the end of the day, because I can really understand, relate, and really connect to technical people. Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's actually quite suited for your personality. If you get like, I always think of like developers and IT people as like just headsets, screens, and that's it. Like that's all they're doing. They're developing, they're coding, they're doing all of that kind of stuff. And they generally are the people that are like least likely to want to have conversations, right? They like being in their own space.
Absolutely. Quite introverted.
Yeah.
And funny enough, not all IT specializations, developers definitely.
Yeah.
Even though you get the developers that are quite quirky and energetic, but the traditional is sort of more introverted.
Yeah.
But if you meet other types of IT skills, for example, business analysts, project managers, even testers, for example, or security people, they do have quite a bubbly, extroverted type personality. So it really depends on what you want to specialize in. Yeah.
Perfect. Now that you've been in IT and tech for quite some time, I think obviously post-COVID, I'm sure things have become, IT as a whole, I think, is just one of those skills that is highly sought after. Yeah. Right? And especially now, you said with the introduction of digital as well. What trends are you seeing just in terms of, the future of IT skills within your profession right now? Yeah. What should people be thinking about that are thinking of doing IT?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this also speaks to what you're so passionate about, bohlale, which I'm so, I really want to empower and encourage people to take this route. So, I mean, let's take a few steps back. If we look at people going into universities and tertiary at this point in time, there's still quite a big focus on STEM. So that's your statistics, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Yeah.
So I still think that route is highly in demand and people should definitely consider that. Also, anything that's got, again, computer science, informatics, engineers are being pulled into banks and they're doing development and cybersecurity, robotics and AI and digital innovation. There's all of these new sort of areas of study that are coming up now that I would highly encourage the new generation that are going into specializing in something, because that is the future. And in terms of the skills that we're seeing pop up in terms of our clients, so what's more in demand today, I feel like software developers, there's never going to be a cool-off period when it comes to that. It is an evergreen field.
Yeah.
Every client of mine is constantly looking for software developers, and not one, but many throughout the year. There's also a high turnaround in that space.
Why is that?
Unfortunately, because they're so high in demand. These software developers are being approached and headhunted on a daily basis.
Sure.
Companies are really needing the best of the best. And they need software developers to come on board and help them achieve a lot of their goals. So software developers in either, whether it's back end or front end or mobile guys.
Highly sought after.
Full stack, highly sought after. And then we're looking at things like cybersecurity skills, massive. Robotics, data analytics, or like your data engineers or data scientists. Even architecture is still highly in demand.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
So that's what we're seeing.
What would you say it takes for someone to be successful in that kind of career? Like what are some of the characteristics that you see that help people be successful in the engineering, the robotics, in all of those kind of newer disciplines?
So the first thing that comes to mind is that constant learning. So upskilling all the time,
right?
Not waiting for your manager to sit you down in a performance review and go, right, you need to do the following in order to get here,
Right.
But it's that upskilling on the side, in the evenings, on the weekends, that I think is going to give you that upper edge, that advantage to either move quite a lot within the organization, so opportunities internally, to also be quite an attractive asset to a company.
Candidate,
I think if you become very complacent, you don't do any upskilling or studying, you're also not wanting to interact a lot with other people within the business. You don't get involved. You don't, voice your ideas and opinions. So I think if you're going to sit in the corner and just code or do your every day-to-day tasks, then I think you're never going to grow.
I get it.
And things are very fast moving at the moment. So things that grab your attention, that you're interested in. I mean, even if you're someone in business who's very interested in tech and wants to learn a programming language or wants to learn digital marketing, whatever it is that grabs you, start doing that on the side, because there's just so much available on the internet in terms of like LinkedIn courses, Google courses, Udemy.
Yeah.
And I think people really took this opportunity during COVID. There were so many people that I knew of that were like, right, I'm going to study. I'm going to use this opportunity to kickstart what I've always been wanting to do.
That's right.
But because of the high demand at work, I've had no time to really focus on my own self-development.
Yeah. Man, that COVID period did a lot for a lot of people, right? In terms of just self-reflection, understanding what's most important to you in your career. Am I in the right space? Like for once you have an opportunity to just kind of just breathe and be like, okay, things are not normal. Let me ask myself some important life-changing questions, right?
Absolutely.
And so much changed, I think, also in just the job market, right? So seeing just a lot more people being very vocal about what it is they do want, being very specific about what it is they are going to accept or not accept. Are you guys hybrid? Do I get to work from home? If you don't, then I'm not going to take the role, you know? Those kinds of things have come up, and I assume some of it has stayed, but maybe some has reverted back. What are your thoughts around some of the trends, just from a job seeker's perspective, post-COVID, that you feel like have changed a little bit? But also from an organization's perspective, what are some of the things that they are now looking for that's different from pre-COVID?
Yeah. So I think let's look at job seekers first. So what have they started to see and change and evolve post-COVID? So I feel like people have really taken that reflection quite seriously, like you've just mentioned, and they started to look at all areas of their life. So whether that be their family, their relationships, their careers, their health, most importantly. I think that's what was mainly highlighted during COVID.
Yeah.
So I think people have become quite focused on, what is it that I want now? Am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Am I having the best quality of life? How many people upped and moved to the coast or moved or immigrated because they wanted a better life? So people are really starting to ask a lot of the right questions, be quite fussy in terms of what they want in their role. I mean, when COVID was just starting to relax, you know, when we started to take off the masks, you know, the first question I got on the phone was, is the role remote? And if it wasn't remote, it didn't go past that question. My phone calls were very limited. So unfortunately, you know, that was the reality back then. So people were starting to get quite comfortable because they had started to create quite a healthy routine for themselves in terms of family time. So we spoke about this, had time to drop off my kids and spend time in the morning with my kids, then focus on work, maybe, you know, wrap up at 3 or 4 and actually get to the gym and just be more present in their lives. And people wanted to retain that, you know, they weren't willing to just sacrifice that. So I think there's a give and take, and there's a little bit of balance now. So candidates know what they want, and they know that there are brilliant opportunities out there. They're not going to say yes at the first offer that they get. They are going to negotiate. Money isn't everything.
That's true.
For some it is. For others it's not. It's about work-life balance.
Very true.
So
very true.
That's from a job seeker perspective. And then in terms of organizations, I think that they've had to try be very creative in terms of attracting talent, whether that be through their marketing strategies, whether that be through their benefits. I think there's been a huge focus on health benefits since COVID.
Have you seen some of that change in organizations? Like, have they upped their health benefits?
I think so. I think they are providing better services in terms of, you know, whether it be a psychologist, whether it be a trauma specialist, whether it be certain benefits to apps or gyms or yoga studios or wherever they can help with mental health as well, because that's become quite a big thing as well. So there's more emphasis on that. So it's looking at health benefits or benefits in general, but they are still wanting to provide that hybrid approach because they're seeing a huge benefit of allowing people to have that balance of being in the office and really engaging and interacting and collaborating, but also having that time to truly focus on your work and, you know, fit in the doctor appointment or fit in the gym session or go to that soccer match for your kid. And people are starting to realize their worth, starting to appreciate their skills and their experience. Because for so many years I've been focusing on building confidence in my candidates to say, you're amazing. Look at ABC. You're not selling yourself correctly in an interview because people don't like to boast. They don't like to sit and talk about themselves in an interview. People who are brilliant but can't seem to really focus on the selling. It's uncomfortable for them, you know?
And I never understood why, because, you know, there's, I guess also if you don't know the fine line between coming across arrogant and confident, that's mostly where you kind of want to take more of a cautious approach in terms of how you sell yourself. But you only have that opportunity to differentiate yourself, right? So if you're not able to sell yourself in an interview, How are you ensuring you are the one that they're picking over someone else that came the day before you?
Correct. How do you make sure that you make the shortlist? That
Exactly.
You're part of the top 2 or the top 3 that's going through to final interviews.
Exactly.
Why not give yourself that opportunity to really prove to yourself and the organization that you're a brilliant asset?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, guys. Never fall short of selling yourself. I've interviewed people that come across completely arrogant in interviews, and that's not the personality that we want to hire within the particular organization. But also there's people that are able to do it cleverly, right? It should be in your CV anyway in terms of your accomplishments and your achievements. So we already know some of that about you. But how are you selling it as a way of saying this is going to be a value add for you as the organization, right? As opposed to I'm just focusing on me, just speaking about me, right? So very good pointers that Nicole has spoken about that I think you guys can take along with you and just keep at the back of your mind as you're preparing for your next interviews and that kind of thing. Yeah. Now, Nicole, want to just come back to you and your journey a little bit more, right? So we've spoken and given tips around what's happened and the trends and all of that kind of thing.
Sure.
But what is the one biggest kind of milestone for you in your career that has taught you something very critical, right? So, what's the one thing that you feel is been a lesson, or maybe something that you feel was a little bit of a setback and you've had to bounce back from it? What is that one critical milestone been in your career that's taught you a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I feel like there's so many aspects that recruitment can teach you. I just feel like you should never, how many CVs do we see on a day-to-day basis? It is unbelievable, right? And they're just pouring in at the moment. So never judge a CV on first impression. I think that candidates have so much to give and sell and say about themselves, and always look for that one thing in a CV where you're like, you know what, this could be it. Because I truly believe that I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't give everybody the opportunity. If I was always being critical and really fussy of the requirements that I was always given by my clients. Because they would say to me, Nicole, send me your top 3 for this role. Bohlale, I find that very difficult to send my top 3. I absolutely love giving candidates the opportunity. There's so much brilliant talent out there. I'd rather send you my 10 and let you make that shortlist.
You shortlist from the 10.
You shortlist from the 10. So don't judge too quickly on people's CVs. I think give them the opportunity. But also in recruitment, it's quite a salesy driven environment.
Yeah.
And you're constantly defined by how did you do last quarter, or how did you do last month, or what did you end on last year? You're constantly defined by those numbers and those figures. And to not forget how far you've come in life.
Yeah.
Because my first maybe 2-4 years were absolutely brilliant. And then due to the economy or corporates building internal teams and cutting costs, role volumes can go down, placements can go down. Don't let that define you. It's not to say that you don't have that fire within you.
Yeah.
Because you do, it's there. And it can be ignited and sparked at any point in time. So to remember who you truly are, never lose your passion because you're having a bad month or a bad day. Just remember that, you can change a life just by, making a phone call to someone who says, I've been waiting for this opportunity. I'm so excited about this role.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, those are key takeaways.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think you've said a lot that you guys can go home and just really think about and learn, I think, from your journey as well. One of the key questions I love asking is what your career theme song is, right? And why I do this is because I just feel like, people have so many different, their journeys are also different, like a recruiter's not a recruiter's not a recruiter. Like you could be a recruiter and have gone through very different career journeys. And I just feel like sometimes songs, movies, books can take out and bring out that side of you. So what do you think your career theme song is to date?
And you're gonna laugh, but this is the nature of recruitment. The song that starts, it says, "I get knocked down, but I get up again."
Yes.
You're never gonna.
I get knocked down,
But I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. And that's what recruitment is. You know, I have the voice. You know, my boss always says in recruitment, there's so many more disappointments than there are appointments.
Yeah.
And that's because you want to help everybody.
Yes.
You get the most incredible people that come across your desk, and you would love to help everybody. And you send the 10 CVs, but one gets an interview. And then it's your candidate up against another 5 from different channels.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of disappointment that we have to do on a day-to-day basis. And you're not going to place every role. You're not going to place every candidate. You're not going to make every client happy. And not every client is going to be your cup of tea either, you know? So I think it's just about being resilient. And that's what the recruitment field teaches you is that you're going to get knocked down all the time. But it's how you bounce back.
Yeah, that's the most important.
And how quick you bounce back, because you can be depressed for a week or an hour, you know, and get back right at it and continue and thrive and just, you know, improve from whatever happened and do better for yourself.
For yourself.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important. And I love that theme song. I think for everyone that goes through corporate careers, that should be your theme song at some stage, right? Because you're always learning, falling down, coming back up again. So absolutely love that. But in closing, Nicole, what's new for you? Like, what's happening in Nicole's world outside of work? What would you like to share? And any kind of parting words that you may have for the audience as well.
Absolutely. So I'm a newlywed.
Yay.
Which is number one for me. You know, we spoke about that fairy tale love story movie in the beginning. And I live that every day now.
That's beautiful.
So, you know, we've been married for about 3 months. So that's still new and beautiful. And, you know, my partner's incredibly supportive. And he always has been from the start. And, you know, there's a dream of mine that I've had for a long time as a little girl.
Yeah.
I started off modeling at the age of 5.
Interesting.
And I did that up until I actually joined Red Eye, because I just couldn't balance the modeling and the career. And
hectic. From 5 until you started your career?
Yeah, so about
Amazing.
22. So 5 up
Amazing.
until about 22, I did modeling. I even competed overseas in New York.
Nice.
I had many, many experiences that were just breathtaking. And yeah, I just really wanted to focus on my career. I'm that kind of person who gives their 500% if I'm going to focus on something. And yeah, so I had spoken to my husband about a year or 2 ago, and I said to him, we were just chatting. It was a deep moment, and you know, we're talking about our dreams. And I said to him, you know, I always wanted to do Miss South Africa. But at the time when I looked into it, you know, I missed the cutoff in terms of the age. And I don't think I was ready back then, you know. And then he said to me, but babe, I'm pretty sure there's Mrs. South Africa. So I said, I think you're right. And I did my research and then kind of left it back then.
Yeah.
And before we got married, I said to him, I did my research and I see there's, you know, there's an opening and there's entries in January, which is just after we get married.
Yeah.
And, you know, how do you feel about me entering? And he was like, of course, babe. Like,
Go for it.
and I said, well, how do you feel? Like, you know, if I get right to the end and I get really far in this competition and, you know, I could be Mrs. South Africa. And he said, I would love that for you, you know, and I'll fully support you in that journey. And so that's what's really new for me this year. Is that I'm a semi-finalist for Mrs. South Africa.
Beautiful.
I'm very excited about
happy.
just taking myself outside of my comfort zone.
Yes.
Like just putting myself out there, shining my light. Every day I speak to incredible people who I'm able to change their lives, whether that be through career or personal. And I really want to do that on a bigger scale. I want to work with women. I want to inspire. I want to work with the youth as well in terms of tech and education. And I just want to just learn skills. I'm forced to learn skills that I wouldn't ordinarily learn in a recruitment environment. So I'm just ready to take myself to that next level. And embracing every moment, super busy, juggling.
But loving the journey,
loving
right?
the journey.
That's the most important part.
Absolutely.
That's the most important part. Well, congratulations on getting to semi-finalists and absolutely everything of the best.
Thank you.
With the rest of your journey. It's been such a privilege having you here and chatting to you about your career and all the nuggets that you've shared around your career and your journey at Red Eye Recruitment. So guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Suits and Stories. I know that there's a lot of nuggets that you've shared. Leave us a comment in terms of what are the things that you got out of this particular session. But up until our next episode, take care and we'll see you in the next one.